still rocking, and it never felt so good at rock bottom, 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 girl. Gotta build a fire when the winter weather rolls in, but it burns out, I got you to be holding. We never gone hungry, 'cause girl, when you love me, it's like sipping syrup, getting shot up with honey. And that sweet taste won't ever go away, not never goes away, 'cause these are the good old days. And it's better than being in a Range Rover made out of solid gold, leaving the bank with Franklin's cranking that radio. With our pockets full of cotton, we're still rocking, and it never felt so good at rock bottom, 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 girl. At rock bottom, 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 girl. It's a beautiful life, 'cause baby, you and I are so damn rich, 'cause we got something money can't buy. It's better than being in a Range Rover made out of solid gold, leaving the bank with Franklin's cranking that radio. With our pockets full of cotton, we're still rocking, and it never felt so good at rock bottom, 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 girl. At rock bottom, 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 girl.
We can solve that problem. That's what our clients hear from us every day. If you're hurt in an accident and dealing with medical bills, lost wages, and pain and suffering, we help you take back your life. For a free consultation, call 1-800-9-4-EDGAR.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Jordan Gleason, and my family bought the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum back in 2007. From the start, people were eager to tour this American architectural treasure, a mental health hospital for over 130 years. The Civil War years, patient artwork, medical treatments. All the money collected from the tours that we offer at the asylum go directly to her preservation. I'd like to invite your family to come see what our family's been up to.
You're listening to Z-Talk Radio, the number one choice for music, sports, news, and talk radio. So keep that dial locked to ztalkradio.com.
The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Z-Talk Radio, its affiliates, or sponsors.
Time to welcome the person that will guide you through the supernatural realm. Your host, Tim Roxbury.
And welcome back to another great Friday evening right here on the Z-Talk Radio Network. Well, tonight we have another very special guest. We're continuing our A Haunting radio series here on the Supernatural Realm Radio Show. Tonight, my guest is Lee Allen. He's with the paranormal team ParaVizionz Investigations. He also has a weekly radio show. I believe it's on Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on the ParaX radio network. He's going to talk about the episode that he and his team were involved with, and and later became the episode on a haunting. The title of the episode is Trapped in Terror. It was season 7, episode 11. So I'm going to go ahead and welcome Lee to the show tonight. How you doing this evening, Lee?
Doing great. And also we got here my lovely wife, Patty.
Awesome. I didn't know whether she was going to be here tonight or not. So,
well, I can leave if you want.
No. I'm actually glad you are here, because I thought maybe you could be part of the show tonight as well. So I'm glad you're here this evening.
Yep.
Well, thank you. I'm also in the chat room.
Oh, okay,
yep.
Great.
We are honored to be on your show, and we love sharing, stories. Because, like I said to you earlier, Tim, sharing a story sometimes clicks with someone that may be going through the same or similar situation.
Mm-hmm. And I believe that's the reason why a lot of us as radio hosts do these shows, is to maybe educate or maybe help somebody that may not otherwise get help or know what's going on in their home.
Yeah.
So how did you and Patty get started in this? How did you meet, and how did this paranormal journey begin for you?
Well, sit back. This is going to take you a little bit of time. Well, for me, I'll let Patty share her story. But for me, back in in 1997, I was a young man, and I got married, and me and my ex-wife, we were having a little boy, and I was excited, having my boy, and going to the ultrasounds, and you're hearing his heartbeat, and you already know it's a boy, and I was very excited and pumped, and nervous all at the same time, because this is going to be a huge responsibility, and at that time it was all fun and games, but then on the other side, I always remembered people saying, well, think about it. You've got this kid for 18 years, typically, and that's about $1 million average, So, I was excited, and when he was born with what they call hypoplastic left heart. That means the left side of his heart wasn't fully developed, okay? Oh. So he didn't get to come home right away. He didn't get to come home at all. And he actually had to stay in the hospital and have surgery to where they put a shunt in his heart to recirculate the blood, because that left side, that chamber, wasn't there. Well, 2 weeks later, he passed away. He had to stay in the hospital. And so I lost my little boy. And about a few weeks later at home, I started noticing and hearing things like, what is going on? And I was never into this kind of stuff at all, the paranormal or anything. And I was a car guy, loved cars, muscle cars, and work. That's all I did. And so I started figuring out what's going on, and a lot of people around me didn't understand, or they thought I was losing my mind because I didn't hang out with people. Family wasn't into that. So, I'm like, no, I'm not losing my mind. There's something going on around me, and I'm not sure what it is. So this little 3-foot shadow would always follow me around. And I didn't know who this is or what it was. So I started doing some research, and, if I really wanted to go from the TV shows, the only thing on at that time was the show Most Haunted, the England group. And I was like, those people are nuts. And I'm like, I am not even going to attempt to reach out to them. And because that was my first impression. I was like, I have to watch one of these shows, and I have to see what's going on. Mm-hmm. And they were saying things that was really clicking, and I'm like, yeah, that's exactly, how I'm feeling and what I see sometimes, that shadow and little whispers behind me, or something like that. So then we had our little girl in 2000. So at that time, from 98 to 2000, I was still doing my own research, figuring it out. I didn't have a team or anything. And our little girl was born. And God, again, gave me another challenge in my life. He gave me a daughter that had imperforated anus, where her rectum wasn't fully through the skin, so they had to put a colostomy bag on her. And so I was going through the surgeries and, the changes with her until 2002. I started my own paranormal team, ParaVizionz Paranormal. And I got a group, and I wanted, my goal was to go out and figure out what I'm seeing and feeling, and also at the same time helping others and individuals and business owners to try to figure out what's going on together, and maybe we can put this thing together. It's a puzzle that's just sitting there on the table, but it needs to be put together.
Right.
And then in May of 05, I lost my daughter. She passed away at 4.5 years old. So I lost 2 children, and that's what got me into this really strongly, okay? And going to church, praying to God, is this really where I need to be? Is this where I really need to be? And, I still do that today, because I'm Baptist. I go to a church called Baraka. In the Bible, it stands for a place of blessing. And it's a great church. I love everybody there. I know God answers my questions. He says, yes, Lee, this is where you need to be. And even till today, this is where you need to be. You need to be one of my messengers. You need to be one of my shepherds for my sheep that aren't reaching to us in the church. So you need to help them get out of this darkness.
Right.
So that was my focus. And so I started, doing investigations. We investigated Kings Island Amusement Park in Cincinnati, Ohio. I got the phone call from the park to investigate that location. When I got there, I filled out it looked like a dictionary, of things that waivers and all this stuff. And because we investigated the park the week they shut down in the summer, we were there Monday through Thursday night. And it was really cool. We're the only ones in the park except 2 security guards. And they were up front, so we had the whole amusement park to ourselves. Wow. And we could go anywhere we want. We had all the keys. We had security radios. They wanted us to, what their purpose was, they wanted us to investigate it. And they chose us out of everybody around here. They said, we want you to come in, investigate the park, because our intentions is to have this park on TV on Sci-Fi Ghost Hunters. So we investigated it 3 years in a row. And finally, Sci-Fi Ghost Hunters came out. And they investigated the park. And you can check out that episode. It's Season 8, Episode 1, Roller Ghoster. And I think it was 2 years ago, we were at Phenomenology. And Britt Griffith was there. And he came over to me and he says, we're inside the little bar after the event. And he goes, Lee, I got to talk to you. I was like, yeah, what's up? And he goes, I heard all of your what you call it, your audio, your video, and you blew me away with some of the stuff. And I'm like, where are you talking about? Where was this? And he goes, it was at Kings Island. I was like, oh, yeah. And he goes, I wish we could share it. But see, we got to investigate the whole park and go deep into it to where they couldn't because of TV, because some of the tragedies that happened in the park, they were, the families are still living. So that's one of the big places that I got to invest along my journey, and went from there. And then in 2010, I met Patrick DeHart. My team's only 4 of us. It's me and Patty, Jim Wilson, and Patrick DeHart. And it works well that way. We connect well together. We feed off each other, and we get the answers for our clients. And there's not a bunch of people coming in, and all this, and it works well for us. And 2010, I met Patrick. 2009, and in 2010, he goes, Lee, I want you to do a second opinion on an investigation. I was like, sure. What do you got? And he goes, well, that's a lady that has a house, and she has 2 children, and there's a lot of issues going on, and I just want a second opinion. Now, hearing that's just amazing. You don't hear that anymore in the paranormal field of, another team reaching out to another team for a second opinion.
Right.
Because technically everybody wants the glory, and I don't understand what the glory is. We're fighting this that we don't even know what it is. And so anyways, we went out and we checked it out, and I didn't get to investigate it at the time. I sent out some of my people that I had on my team at the time, and when we happened to do the reveal, I was here. I was actually, during the investigation, I had the opportunity to be on a Super Bowl commercial with James Buster Douglas and Mike Tyson. And they're both diabetic, and it was a diabetic commercial for chicken wings. And I was the little white guy sitting at the table eating all these wings with barbecue sauce and all this hot sauce all over my face. And I had them on my sides. It was really cool. So I got to enjoy that. But when I came back, I got to do the reveal, and that's when I met Patty.
Wow.
It was Patty's house. Now, see, Patty, she came into this as a client. So that's another great thing that we share when we do these ghost classes or we do these events and do presentations is, having somebody that's been on the other side instead of never been on that side, just being an investigator. It's really fascinating because she helps us out a long way. And now I'm going to let her take over from there.
Do you need a break, Tim? Are you okay over there?
I'm fine. I'm just blown away by y'all's story and how you guys got into this.
Yeah, it's definitely a long story, and I like the part naturally where it merges with my life. Right. So
I got a question though. What was your experience prior to meeting Lee as the investigator, as the lifesaver, so to speak?
Well, what I was dealing with at my house was in the year 2000, we had this house built, and like Lee, I was married before also. And immediately after we moved into the house, strange things started to occur. And at the time, I was pregnant. This was August of 2000, and my daughter was born in September. So right from the start, strange things started to happen involving my son, who was about 2.5 at the time. And he was waking up every single night with this horrible blood-curdling scream. And he was telling me that there was someone in his closet. So for a long time, I just played that off, and I told him he was having a bad dream. And basically I would lay down beside him and more often than not fall asleep in his bed with him. But I noticed over the course of time that not only was there someone in his closet, he said, but every couple days, this person from the closet was getting closer to his bed. He started saying, now it went from there's someone in my closet to there's someone by the window and there's someone by my dresser. And then eventually it was there's someone by my bed and they're trying to scratch me. And by this time, I had the baby. My daughter was born. And my son still continued to do this waking up every single night. Unfortunately, it was a really rough time the first year we lived here because I had a brand new baby. I had a 2.5-year-old. I had pneumonia twice within one winter. It sounds like a lot of bad luck, and honestly, a lot of it probably was. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, with the activity going on in the house, what else? At times, every single smoke alarm we had would go off. Eventually, it got to the point where we disconnected them from the ceiling, and they were hardwired, but we removed them. Mm-hmm. Removed them from the ceiling, removed the batteries. They'd still go off.
Wow.
We do now have smoke detectors up because, Lee's in fire protection. But when he came, I didn't because I could never get them to stop. So there was one evening when all the smoke alarms went off, and my dog was going crazy. And I told my ex-husband at the time, I said, we need to take Jack out of his room. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I don't know. Something's just telling me, get him out of there. And so we moved him in with the baby just for that night. And I'm not kidding. The second that we all left his room, everything went quiet. So the focus of the activity in my house was always my son's room. And one day, in an effort to show him there was no one in the closet, I opened up the door and I said, look, no one's in here. And what I found instead was a box from our move that just said games. And unfortunately, I opened up the box, and this is where it'll get a little bit controversial perhaps, but in the box was my old Ouija board.
Oh.
I do have different feelings about Ouija boards now than I did at that time. Mm-hmm. But the second I saw it, it was like my heart just dropped, and I thought, oh my gosh, that's it. And we had never messed with it with children in the house. It was something that we did, just for fun when we visited family in New Jersey or something like that. But I couldn't bring myself even to touch it. I kicked the whole box out of his closet, out of his room, and left it at the top of the stairs. And when my son's dad came home, I said, you need to get rid of that thing. And all we did was throw it away.
Oh, jeez.
I know. For a long time, I attributed that to the cause of all of our problems. And what we have since learned is, really, that's probably not the problem. What appears to be the problem is something is attached either to me or to another item in the house. Mm-hmm. I'm waiting for the day to find someone who can really pinpoint that.
Right.
As time goes on, eventually I became a single parent. And because of all that drama, all the paranormal activity got kind of shoved to the side, and you don't really think about it much. There was an evening when my son was throwing a total fit, and he refused to sleep in his bed. And so I let him sleep on the futon in what right now is our studio. And I was sitting beside him, waiting for him to fall asleep. And I saw him look over my shoulder into his bedroom. And so I turned to look, and I saw with my own eyes a very tall black figure dart across the room and crouch down into the corner. And I was ready to flee the house. So I was still married at the time, and that's sort of, the demise of things. But we hung up a St. Christopher medal in my son's room, thinking that would help. Now, at the time, I really had zero religious inclination at all. And, that's probably why it didn't help. I didn't have faith in it. I didn't believe in it. I just figured, it's religious. It'll work. Mm-hmm. It takes a little more than that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, like I say, eventually I became a single parent. The activity fired back up, but now I was here by myself. And it went on for a few years. Mainly what was happening was footsteps in the upstairs. And not only myself, but girls I worked with would hear that. My dog noticed it all the time. I had a black lab, and she was arthritic. She couldn't climb the stairs anymore. So she would stand at the bottom of the stairs and look up. And then she'd look at me and she'd be like, aren't you going to go up there? Like, something's up there. You should go check it out. And she would follow the walking sounds on the ceiling. Her head would follow it.
Wow.
And I was, oh my God, what is going on? And finally, there were two things that were the last straw for me. And one was I could see someone come down the stairs and peek around into the living room. So one night I changed around the entire living room so I wouldn't sit with my back to the stairs because I was freaked out. And it was as if this thing came down the stairs and looked, and it was like, oh, she saw me, and it would dart back up. And of course, the dog noticed this all the time. But I was like, God, what the heck do I do? I had no clue. This is back when, of course, Ghost Hunters was on, but Most Haunted was on. And, Most Haunted was no help to anybody. I'm not ashamed to say I did reach out to TAPS. Unfortunately for them, by the time they ever responded to me, I had already gotten the help I needed. So that was their bad luck. But, the other item that really made me reach out was there was a meat thermometer in my kitchen that literally flew and hit someone. And right after that, I saw a small article in the newspaper that said, "Do you think your house is haunted? If so, call us and we'll help." And that turned out to be Patrick's team.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, it just, I don't know, we all just kind of tied in a little bit there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe that animals, especially dogs and cats, that they're very sensitive. They can sense, energy differential. They can sense when possibly spirits in the home and things, and they'll alert you to it.
Absolutely. And the thing was, when Patrick's team started to come here, I still had my lab. Mm-hmm. And she was a mix. She was a lab Rottweiler mix, so she was big. And like I said, she couldn't climb the stairs anymore. Patrick and his team investigated once, they investigated twice, and then in the interim, I had to have my dog put down. She was 13. They found a mass. It was a bad thing. And so when Patrick came back, he came in the house and he was bringing in equipment. And after a while, he goes, "Hey, where's the dog?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, I told him the story. I had to have her put to sleep, and I have her ashes now." And he's like, "But no, I saw her when I pulled up. I saw her at the door." So, that's one positive is I think she's still here with us. Mm-hmm. Lee's seen her as well. And of course, he never got to meet her. But I definitely, along with thinking that animals can see and sense paranormal activity, I think they can be the cause of it as well. I know she's running around here doing her thing. And we've investigated a location where we've captured dog panting as an EVP. And that was actually really comforting to that client. So,
that's really
it's just...
Yeah, dogs can protect you, in this life and then help you when they, reach the other side as well. That's really a neat story.
Yeah. So, I know I dragged on forever, but eventually, ParaVizionz shows up, they do their investigation, and like Lee said, he came for the reveal, and that's how we met. And we talk about it often because it's comical to us. We remember exactly where we were sitting and what was being said. And I remember he looked at me and he goes, "Do you have a radio on upstairs?" And I said, "No." We were all sitting at the kitchen table and they were playing my EVPs and such. And, I'm a quiet person. I can go without the TV, the radio, I like silence. So it wasn't odd that I had nothing running when they came in. Mm-hmm. And, he's like, "Do you have a radio on upstairs?" And I said, "No." And I turned to Patrick and I said, "Do you want to take him up?" And he goes, "Sure. Okay." And, sitting there at the kitchen table, he was hearing all the business going on upstairs. So, after that, naturally, he just found me irresistible and he wouldn't leave me alone.
Do you guys believe that events in your life, things that happen, do you believe that they happen for a reason, and do you believe that you're meant to go through these things to maybe meet your future wife or husband, or to prepare you for something to come?
Absolutely. I totally believe, because think about it, Tim. When I was sharing my story, I had 2 children, right, that passed away.
Right.
And God brought me into Patty's life for a reason, because Her son was born February of 1998. My son was born August 1998.
Wow.
Her daughter was born September of 2000. My daughter was born December of 2000.
Oh, that's...
So God gave me this second chance. And I'm just like, wow, he's amazing, and that's, yeah. So I believe, yes, that we're meant to be. And it took us some crazy roller coasters, through our life and some scars, but we made it.
Yeah, exactly. My sister's going through, some things in her life and a divorce, and she's, was cursing her ex-husband and wishing bad on him, and things are starting to happen to her. Sunday she got her car stuck on the ice, and the neighbor offered to help, and then he gets in the car with her and tries to get her out of the situation, and they end up down over an embankment, and it's crazy how things happen.
It is. And
it is.
I will say I was definitely, there have been times where I wished very many horrible things on my ex-husband. However, Lee is always very quick to remind me, hey, without him, you wouldn't have the kids who are amazing. And, it's best. He lives his life. I live mine, and that's great. But what I find to be very important, along with, like Lee said, these weird connections in our lives, is that when we met, neither one of us were looking. We weren't looking to be dating anybody.
Right.
No.
I was a single parent. I worked. I still work, but I worked a lot more hours back then. I was very busy, and I had applied to go back to college. So we weren't looking to hook up, but after I met him during that reveal, and afterwards I had some questions, I had some things I wanted to talk to him about as the leader of his team, and I called him, and I just said, look, I need to be honest. I need to get this stuff off my chest and clear this crap up. And that's when we actually started to really get to know each other. So, I think that's what did it. We weren't looking.
No.
And we were just led that way.
Absolutely.
And that was, when did you guys form ParaVizionz then?
I formed it in 2002, and I rebuilt it. Everybody was doing their own things, up till about 2011. We totally just reamped it, and it's going great for us. It's just us four, and because before, back in, let me say, 04, 05, ParaVizionz was so big that I was in Ohio, I was in Kentucky, I was in Indiana, and I was in West Virginia.
Wow.
And I really didn't want to be that big, and I just started to downsize over the years. And it's been great. Me personally, I've done probably over 4,000 investigations. It's still growing. I love helping people. I love helping other teams, individuals, not just on investigations, but maybe, they're having an issue with an audio or a video clip. They'll send us, and we'll see what we think. And we get those quite often as the photos. And some photos are interesting, and some photos you go, oh, man, posted the picture of the angry cat with it. And it's like, quit sending me dust particles, please. But they don't. But you know what, though? Some people don't know, and that's the thing, because they see it moving. But if everything in the picture to me is moving the same direction, we're collecting dust. If it's one crazy one, if we got dust going from bottom right to top left, and then all of a sudden we get this one real big crazy line coming through from the bottom left going up to the top right. Yeah, we're getting something there, And so, yeah, it's always fun, and I don't want to, I just want to help everybody we can. And we try to do that. And like I said, we get bombarded with residential cases, and also some paranormal teams around us here, will get those phone calls for things going on. And I feel that, some people take their investigation, their situation, they take it too harsh, when they're telling a paranormal team or someone that, because they watch so many shows that by the time it gets to you, you're so pumped up that you like, wait a minute, I got to collect my thoughts here, because they watch too many TV shows. But when you get, when we get those from certain teams around us that, it may sound demonic, but some people don't deal with those, so they'll call us.
All right.
And we'll drive literally past their house because it's in their hometown. They won't deal with it, but they'll call us and we'll go out and take care of it. And finding out it's really not demonic, because in my studies of the paranormal, I feel that 95% of the time is counseling the client. They just want that one person to talk to them. They just want to reach out to a stranger. And I feel that that's what, happens is, they're having issues with their marriage. They're having issues with their teenagers. You got finances. You got stress. We live in 2015. I mean, look at this. Price of milk is almost $5 a gallon.
I
mean,
know.
So many things that you got to put in play here. And then, me being in the fire field of doing building inspections, I know what to look for, not just the EMF, but hearing creaks and cracks and, and all this stuff. And, and that's another part of it, is it scares them and they think it's paranormal. And, but it's always great to go in and, and do a prayer with them. That's the big thing, because like I said earlier before the show, without God, we're nobody. And He's with us every time we go. We do protection prayers there. We do protection prayers with the family, and we do prayers before we leave. And if I can, and you know what? And a lot of people right now, if they're listening, they're probably like, prayers? What do you mean prayers?
Right.
Thing, if we can take that individual, and maybe usually it's the husband and wife with us at that night, and they've got the kids off to babysitters so we can investigate the home. If we can get their mindset positive and they see that we're positive about it, guess what? It changes that attitude of that darkness that they're dealing with. And it's better. It's totally better, because we didn't just investigate the home. We listened. That's the big important key. We listened to them during the investigation. We also cleansed the home. Everybody can do the cleansing and just do some prayers. And we also leave them with prayers. We also leave them with sage. We also tell them tips of simple things of, going in and burning a white candle because it brings in bright light, open up windows to release the negative energy, take sea salt showers to, cleanse your body, makes you feel refreshed. We give them those tips. And, we just did an investigation in Corning, Ohio, that's had a team in there 3 times, sorry. And this team came from Toledo, Ohio. And when we go in and we got done, she goes, guys, you're totally different, because they didn't get them the answers, because the team came in and they were thinking of themselves, not the client.
Right.
They wanted to go in and trap what's there. They wanted 1,000 EVPs. They wanted a shadow. They wanted that full body apparition, and I've never seen a full body apparition unless it's really one of my teammates. But, from head to toe, full face, they want all of this. And then it's like the client's like, well, hey, he or she's back there with their hand up. What about me? What about me?
Right.
And, that's where you got to start, is them, because before we pull out the equipment, the only thing that we take in at the beginning of the investigation is a voice recorder and an EMF detector, because we want to check the EMF. We want to run a voice recorder to see if we pick anything up during the interview, right? But when we sit down and talk to them, and that's usually a preliminary before we do the investigation, we're sitting there learning about them and educating them. And then we can tell when we're all four sitting there whether or not this is an investigation or if this is just a time for us to sit with coffee and cookies, because they just need somebody to talk to.
Right.
And sometimes it takes that we have to investigate because that just makes closure for them. And and sometimes they deal with. I hear so many stories about residual hauntings anymore that a lot of people say, "Oh, that's residual." Well, someone shared something with me recently about residual, and that's just amazing. But we'll share with that in the next hour. But to deal with the clients, though, is just going in, taking care of them, and counseling. Mm-hmm. And then that 5%, that extra 5% is what I like to call the unknown, the paranormal. And that is when the fun begins. We get to go out and pull out all the equipment. We get to have fun with it. We get serious, and go from there.
Mm-hmm. You wouldn't, well, I'm sure you do know, but there's been a number of times where a client has contacted me and wanted to meet and talk. And during the conversation, they just say, I just want to know I'm not crazy. I just want to know I'm not imagining things. And a lot of times that's really all they want to hear is for you to find some validation that they're not crazy.
Absolutely. And then, what I usually tell them in response, because I get that too. And I'm like, well, lady, you called the right person, because there's a lot of people in this world call me crazy for doing what I do, sitting in someone's house in the dark.
Exactly.
So you're okay. You called the right person.
Yeah.
It goes from there. And and that's the thing is just bringing them back to the light, Mm-hmm.
I think it's awesome what you and Patty do and the rest of your team.
So much.
I saw the episode of A Haunting, and I was like, I got to get them guys on. I got to do everything I can to talk to them. It's just awesome. I was just blown away by the episode. And
the only thing now I'm going to share. The only thing that is there's two things in that show that we do not do is first of all I don't roll my eyes in the back of my head. Okay. Secondly, there's actually a few things, but secondly is I wished I was that skinny like that guy. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not that big, but I just wow, he made me look good. And the third thing is that big EMF probe thing that Patty was using. It looked like a big meat beater.
Okay.
I don't know where they came up with that. We don't use those.
Yeah, I do more than walk around and check EMF.
Yeah, and then with a smile. She doesn't have a smile all the time. She's from Jersey, people.
That's right.
Jersey.
If it's smiling, that means I like you, so it's rare.
She's smiling, but if she smiles all night long, I need to check her and admit her into the hospital because there's something wrong with my wife.
Being serious, the really cool thing about that investigation was, and I so wish this was shown, was that naturally it wasn't just Lee and I. Jim and Patrick were very much present and very active during that investigation, because during all of those key scenes they showed, it was all four of us working together doing something that, like Lee said earlier, it doesn't take just 5 minutes for us to try and get someone crossed over. And for example, the main portion of the episode where we are working to cross this little girl over. At the time, when I was sitting in the corner with this little girl, I was actually holding her hand the entire time. We needed to gain her trust. And aside from the homeowner, I was the only other female there. And so I got into the corner. I sat down with her. I said, here's a little Barbie doll. Do you want to play? You can, I'm not going to hurt you. And while we were doing that, while I was working, gaining the trust of the little girl along with Lee, Patrick was behind Lee, sort of just, hanging by the bar, putting out the vibe. But, he was filming, he was praying.
He was filming, yeah.
And, he was encouraging her. They're fine. They're not going to hurt you. They're good people. And what I find to be really amazing was Jim was at the door of the bedroom, and all of us were in the bedroom with the door closed, even the homeowners. Jim was at the door because the gunman was wanting in. And while I'm talking to this little girl and Lee's talking to the little girl, the entire time I could hear Jim behind me at the door, and he's saying, "You're not coming in here. You're not welcome in here.
Well,
you need to leave her alone."
Quick, because Jim never gets those blank moments, we call shit moments,
Mm-hmm.
But that night, he felt some energy right there at the door, and it really, he said, it's affecting him, and he was scared. I could tell he was a little scared, but I told him, I'm trying to talk to this little girl without scaring her, and I'm trying to calm Jim down, but I'm like, Jim, take a deep breath, just step back. You've got this. I said, think of it. And I had to step out of the investigation. I said, think of it as Patrick's trying to reach over and take your hamburger. Just take control. So he started, he got loose a little bit. Then he was literally putting his hand out saying, "You're not getting in here. I may be a little skinny Italian guy, but you're not getting in here."
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And I understand why, the show only uses a certain number of people. And I understand that completely. But that would have been such a striking moment to have in there. And I so wish they did, because to really be sitting there, and it was just total chaos for a few minutes. And, again, with Jim back there, being the security guard of the room, and Patrick encouraging, and Lee and I working with this little girl, and the homeowners behind us like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is even happening.
As and as that was happening, to add on to that, the room got really calm. Like you could really go to sleep quickly,
Mm-hmm.
And what they didn't show is, I had my hand out and Patty had her hand out. And at that time when I told her I needed her, because at the moment when I was trying to, because I could see her, and they did a really good job of putting her together as what I saw. And she was scared. She would just cringe up each time that I would try to reach out, and I'm like, this isn't working. And the first thing that came to me was, okay, Patty, you got to help me. You're a mother figure. Reach out, help me. So she got down. I said, get on your knees with me, please. And she did. And at the time, Tim, I was like, oh, no, whoa. And they're sitting in there. But there was this big white light that I could see behind me and Patty. And I'm watching this white light form into a figure of a man. Wow. And he's got his hand out underneath Patty. And at that time, when I saw that, Patty goes, oh, my hand's getting super cold. I was like, well, that's not her yet. I said, she goes, oh, my back's getting really, really cold and goosebumped. And I was like, okay, let me tell you who that is. That's God. He was there helping us cross this little girl over.
And the thing was, when I stepped over there to get into the corner, and again, A Haunting did an excellent job with that, because even the layout was right.
Yes.
The little girl was in the corner. I stepped in on that side, and as I was stepping in and going to sit down, something shoved me, and I tipped backwards into Steve, the homeowner. And I remember vividly, I said, ooh, something just tipped me over. And Steve goes, are you okay? And I said, yeah, I'm all right. But, I think it was definitely an effort to keep us away from her. Mm-hmm. And so when I did get finally seated, and like Lee said, I said, man, my back is cold. And again, the homeowner, Steve, was behind me, and he said, yeah, I can feel it. It was between us. But when the time finally came, when we were able to send her on her way, it was like someone took a giant bucket of warm water and dumped it on my head, and it just rolled all the way down my back. And even though I was sitting, the whole entire backside of my body went completely warm. And that was a feeling that I will never forget. That was just phenomenal. And so that's how I knew she was finally safe. She was set free. And it was just, we all just kind of took this big breath, and we're like, we need a break.
I think the homeowner, Taylor, actually did fall on the bed. Like, oh my God, I feel a lift in my daughter's room. Now this room where her daughter stayed she didn't go up there but at bedtime. And then it got so bad that she didn't even go up there at all, because she was so terrified of what the situation was going on. So when the homeowner felt that, and it was great. It was like very serious, sad, all this balled up into one, but a big relief that, you know, God used me to connect with Patty and to connect with everybody in the room to show me that he's here, he's alive, he's going to help this little girl come back to him where she belongs. She doesn't have to be scared anymore, and everything is going to be okay. And that was just phenomenal. I mean, it's if I could see heaven, I knew exactly what heaven was going to look like. It's going to be phenomenal when we all get our turn when we go. And you know what? But people don't take it too soon. Let's let life do its cycle, and we'll get there. And oh my goodness, that was an amazing part of that investigation.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And then you said, you know, after the little girl was gone, you said, we're not done yet.
Yeah, at that time, we got up, you know, and we were just taking a deep breath. And the gentleman had walked away from Jim, okay? Mm-hmm. And it goes down the steps, and it goes down to another room. And I could hear the gun. You know, he's cocking it back. And I'm like, guys, I'm going to need, you know, at this time, I'm like, guys, I'm going to need your help. But we took a break in between that. We took a break just to get some fresh air. And Taylor and Steve goes, what's the plan for next? What we going to do now? And I said, well, I'm sitting here. I'm outside grounding myself, getting with God, protecting all of us, because now it's the hard part. Mm-hmm. And she goes, what's your attempt? And I said, I'm going to go in and talk to him like a human being, because we can't be like these other investigators normally be when they come in and they start yelling and provoking. I hate that word, provoking. I don't like doing that.
I agree.
I don't want to go out and provoke somebody, because you don't even know the situation, but we want to provoke that person because we don't know the story. We're only hearing stories. I want to know the real story. So I'm going to go in, and I'm not going to talk about what happened. I'm not going to talk about you're a bad person. I want to know this person on a level, a personal level. I want to know what he does for a living, or what she does, you know, what she did growing up. That is my goal and my reach. And I told Taylor, I said, I'm going to go in and we're going to get him crossed over. Mm-hmm. And they looked at each other like, really think you're going to be able to do this? And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do this. Mm-hmm. You know, they're like, okay. I was like, because you know what? It's just not us six here, you know? And they're like, what do you mean? I said, God's right here. He was upstairs, wasn't he? He's not leaving me till we're done. And he never leaves us. But I was like, he's going to be helping us. But here's what I'm going to need from you all. This is the scary part of the situation. Keep your guard up. Don't show fear. If you show fear, then he's going to take control. Mm-hmm. And then it just takes one person to drop that gate, and then he's going to come right in. I said, we're going to cross this man over. So when we go back in, I can hear him pacing the floor. And he was pacing at a window, which used to be a porch at the time on the second floor. And he was looking out a window because he was afraid that he knew the cops were coming. And I go in, and Tim, I literally bumped right into him. And he turned, he saw me. I saw him. And they did a really good job on a haunting on putting him together. That's exactly what I saw. The figure, you know, his build, no hair. It was phenomenal. It was a really good job. And he's carrying the gun, and he's got it with his finger on the trigger. And he's got the barrel he's in his right hand, and he's got it leaning against his shoulder. Okay. And, you know, at first I thought, and I'm getting goosebumps right now. First I thought, you know, this guy's going to shoot me. But then I'm thinking, wait, he's a spirit. But, you know, you've got that fear still that I couldn't show. But in my mind, I'm thinking, he's going to blow my brains out.
Right.
And this guy, this is old. This is 50s. 60s, mm-hmm. But he's going to blow my brains out. And so I go in and calm and collective, and I get focused. And Jim, and this is another part that I wish they put in, because Jim, he always helps me when I open my empath. He always helps me get closer to the spirit. He'll ask me questions. Then once he starts asking me questions, the whole team starts asking me questions. We got voice recorders going. We got REM pods, EM pumps. We got the trigger objects. And it helps because they're like, are you still with them? And I'm like, yeah, let me try. And I was like, if you can hear me and see me, make that REM pod go off. And sure enough, bam. Okay, and that's what this guy was doing. So he was really comfortable with me there for a while after I, introduced myself. And I told him I'm not here to judge him. Nobody judges nobody on this earth but Jesus Christ. And they did put that in the show. I said, I'm not here to judge you, buddy. I said, I want to talk to you. And I wanted to, and it felt like at first I was saving this guy. Mm-hmm. Just like you go to church and you get saved. And then he was a little hard to get across, but it happened.
Right.
When he crossed, though, it felt like every bit of my life sucked out of my body. And I had to leave that room. And I went outside. It was a cool night. And I sat on the porch. And I sat there for a few minutes. And I was just blown away. I was like, this story right here is amazing. Mm-hmm. From first walking in and I'm hearing all this ruckus. I'm hearing this gunfighting. I'm hearing this little girl screaming. And it was just a man that had some issues upstairs that he had to take several lives that day because he had a bad day at work. And this changed his whole life for him to kill himself too, Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it was very intense, but I love it. The clients are great right now. They're doing fantastic. The little girl, when we first go there, they didn't have any pictures hanging up in the whole entire house.
Wow.
The little picture they showed of the little girl coloring her imaginary friend. Mm-hmm. That's the real picture.
Right. Wow.
They had it on the refrigerator. They were having dinner one night and she came and said, Mommy, look, here's our imaginary friend. Can she have dinner with us? Oh. And she, sure. And at first they're freaking out, but they're like, sure. And, after the investigation, we go back and do the reveal. And we go in and they were so excited, weren't they? They were just like it was lifted in the house.
Yeah, there was a visible change, not only to the house, but to Stephen Taylor also. Mm-hmm. When we went to investigate, Taylor's pretty tall. Now, I'm only 5'3", so anybody's tall, but she's pretty tall if you ask me. Probably, I don't know, 5'9", 5'10", maybe.
10. She's
wow.
Right. Yeah.
And she's very, very thin. But when we arrived to investigate, I looked at her and I'm like, man, she's been sick. Like, she just looked pale and weak and, tired and broken down. And, Steve was kind of the same way. He just looked, like...
It looked like he was beat to death. They both were.
They were just done.
And like at the end of this show, they both, at the time they were planning a marriage. And I'm thinking, these people cannot be marrying each other because the way that everything is right now, I don't see a marriage even coming into play. And then they're saying they're trying to plan for this wedding. And I'm like, okay. But, it was night and day. It was like that was night, then day after the reveal. We get there, they're excited. They're showing, she's showing Patty some of the little things that they, they're getting for the wedding. Mm-hmm. She said, come in my living room. I got to show you something. We go in there and bam, they have a beautiful picture of a scenery in the woods. And it's all these little thin trees. And then way out there is the bright light, the sun. And it's coming through the trees. And she goes, Lee, when you told me what to do, if I feel anything after you leave, to burn burn the candles, open the windows. And she goes, and this is dedicated to you because this picture reminded me of our investigation that light conquers darkness. Mm-hmm. So this sun's coming through these trees. And if you look to the left, to the right, it's real dark. But the sun's coming through to open it up. And it was great, And we gave them what we collected. And I said, I got to get the story out there. I got to share this with everybody.
That is awesome. what you guys did and the episode and the end result is just phenomenal. That's what we live for. That's what investigators like ParaVizionz and Butler Paranormal, that's what we live for.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it's so nice now because since the show, we've definitely gotten a lot of investigation requests.
Mm-hmm.
We've done a few. You know, a couple we've had to refer out because they were across the country.
Mm-hmm.
So we can't go to Oregon. I'm sorry. I'd love to, but it's just not in the finances.
Well, and two, I couldn't go to Seattle.
Right.
One lady reached out, and I said, well, I told her, I said, I can reach out to a local team for you there. I can find someone. No, I want you to. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, sorry, ma'am, I can't.
I know, and it sucks, but you know, the blessing is that the few that we have done locally, both times we walked in and both of those clients broke down on us. They're in tears and they're like, we just don't know what to do. And then we saw your show and you guys seem so nice and so helpful. And we're like, just wait, that's only half of us. You're about to meet Jim and Patrick and they're awesome as well.
All right.
And they're like, the one client, and this will stick with me for a while, said, why aren't all teams like you guys? We've worked with other teams, but they just come in and they yell and they scream and, you know, they're just rude. Why isn't everyone like you guys? We can't answer that, but we always remember that regardless of the situation, these spirits were someone's loved one. Mm-hmm. One time they were. They were someone's son, mother, sister, uncle. Someone loved them, and we show that respect. And, you know, we have had a case where the spirit was a little bit fired up and he was upset and he was making people uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
But we don't let that get to us. Now, I will be honest, Lee gave me a heart attack on that investigation because we were standing in total darkness and he reached out with his arm and he touched me. And I didn't realize it was him. And I had previously said, I'm a little uneasy down here. I think we should leave. Leave this area. That's
the Corning one that we did for, the lady had called in the other team prior. And, as being an empath, I like to, as we're investigating, I'm protecting, but I'm also wanting to communicate with the spirit. And, of course, I had my left hand out, and I was like, to myself, if you can see my hand, reach out and touch my hand. So I'm just, like, circling. It's pitch dark in this basement. There's not even any windows. Okay.
Zero
there. It's just dark. You couldn't even see your hand in front of your face. Well, I told Jim, he had the static cam going. I said, Jim, is this me and Jim and Patty? I said, Jim, turn off your camera light. He goes, you serious? I'm like, turn it off. We're gonna see what happens. At that time, I saw something fly by and it scared me. I could see someone run around us. And right around when I said that, Jim goes, whoa, and he fell back, stepped back. And something went through him real fast. He said real quick. And at that same time, as I'm coming around, I didn't know Patty was standing right there, and my arm touched mid-back ways. And, oh, my God, she screamed. When she screamed, I screamed because I didn't know that it was her. She didn't know it was me. So that's a blooper.
Yeah, because like I said, meanwhile, I had said like twice before, hey, I'm really uncomfortable down here. Let's go back upstairs, please. And, Lee's like, just hang on. And, again, I tried not to get like that. We're supposed to be brave, but, there was just something about it. I was not comfortable down there. And, then of course, he brushes me. I have a heart attack and, it was fine. I survived and, that case ended very well, thankfully. But again, that lady, when we showed up, she burst into tears and she's like, I'm so happy you're here. And that was like a 3-hour drive for us. So, we're dedicated to helping these people. Because we've been in that spot. I've been there and I've been to the point where I'm like, nobody believes me. People think I'm nuts. And my kids won't sleep in their own rooms at all. I mean, before Patrick came, every night my kids were sleeping with me And we would take turns. One night, one could be in my bed, and the other one, we had a little bed made up on the floor. And I'm like, this is no way to live. They're in school. You know, they need proper rest. I need rest. I need my space. And, you know, when you've lived through that, you understand what it's like. It just sucks.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Makes for a good investigator, though, I'm sure. Having, you know, been through something.
I like to think so. Because honestly, there, you know, in the beginning, when the team became just the four of us, there were a couple cases that we were on where some pretty crazy things happened. And, you know, there was one in particular. Lee was getting scratched. We were seeing scratches form on his body. And he's like, I need to leave. I need to get out of here right now. And he kind of started to panic a little bit. And I was like, whoa, hold on. I'm like, we can't go running out of here.
No.
You know, this lady called us. And I just think of it, what would I have done if Patrick ran from my house, you know, while he was supposed to be there to help me?
And that's why it's good to have you, you know, as a client before, you know, you stopped me because I was like, let's pack up and go.
Right.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm not entirely cold-hearted. I definitely feel his pain and I understood. But again, this was a young lady who needed help and she was in a really bad situation. And had we fled, I don't know what would have happened to her. You know, I told him, I'm like, what we need to do is just finish this investigation. We only have a couple more areas to work on. We'll split up, you know, 2 people here, 2 people here, and let's just knock it out of the park. And, you know, Lee stayed with me. We don't always investigate all 4 of us all together. You know, we'll do 2 and 2, and those pairs vary. It's not always me and Lee or me and Jim. We mix it up. You know, it just depends what's going on. But on this particular night, Lee was with me for the finish of that investigation. And we were talking with the homeowner, and she opened up and she shared a lot of personal information that was very relevant to what was going on. And the whole time she's talking to me and she's crying, Lee's on my other side squeezing the crap out of my hand because he's over there being a little punching bag.
I'm being tore up here, you know, and I'm like, I need help. Let's go.
He's not saying a word, but he's like, hurry up, finish up. We got to go. We need to leave.
Yes.
Wow. Well, I think it's time. I think it's time to take a break, guys.
Okay.
So when we get back, if we can, you know, I'd like to maybe talk more about the case. And there was the beginning at the episode where, you know, the mother was involved and Taylor had thought she was doing witchcraft and things like that. I want to maybe get your opinion on that, whether or not she did conjure something up, whether or not there was something already there, whether or not these spirits were already there prior to her mother being there. I'd like to talk about that after the break. Does that sound okay?
Sounds good.
All right, you are listening to the Supernatural Realm on the Z Talk Radio Network. We'll be right back right after this.
After so many years on TV, people recognize me as the guy to call when they think their house is haunted. But people also call me at Roto-Rooter Plumbing and Drain Service. Everyone knows Roto-Rooter is the company to call for clogged sewers and drains, but we can fix any plumbing problem. And now, water damage too. So next time you hear pipes rattling in your walls, your toilet flushed at 2 a.m., don't call a ghost hunter. Call Roto-Rooter.
Call Roto-Rooter, that's the name.
And away go troubles down the drain.
Water you turned into wine. Open the eyes of the blind. There's no one like you.
listening to Z-Talk Radio, the number one choice for music, sports, news, and talk radio. So keep that dial locked to ztalkradio.com.
And welcome back to the show with my guest, Lee-Patti Allen from ParaVizionz. I thought that was a pretty good song to play there during the break. You know, it's ultimately God that you know helps us through bad times. It helps us through things that we are going through, such as a haunting or a paranormal experience that we need help with.
Absolutely, and that song rocked. I was over here jamming because it's one of we listen to that every Sunday at church. It's one of our faves. So you picked a good one.
Yeah, I want to tell people that it's God that helps. It's I always like to try to play some sort of faith-based song when I do this show. So,
and that's awesome.
But I do like Chris Tomlin. He's awesome.
Oh, he is. He's great. Him and Michael W. Smith, the bombs.
Yep, exactly. So, anyway, what are your thoughts with conjuring up spirits? Maybe something that may have already be there. Do you believe that the events that led up to you and your team being there, do you think it was caused by an individual, or do you think it was something that was already there to begin with?
I think the spirits was already there, but I think the mother dealing with, doing some kind of seance or something, I think triggered it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But they're there. They was already there. Steve and Taylor, they were already feeling and getting terrified of what's going on. Their daughter was already seeing the little girl before the mother came in. So my opinion on that is, yeah, I think it's already been there. It's just that she fueled the fire just a little bit,
mm-hmm.
where the family had to reach out and they got a hold of us. Now they didn't actually get a hold of me directly. How they got a hold of me is, if everybody's familiar with the crypt field, Jody Cook, he is a good friend of ours. He lives he don't live that far from us here. He actually called me and said, Lee, I really need you guys to come in and help. They're friends with Jody.
Oh, okay.
So that's how we got the call. And I called them up, told them we're there, and she goes, wow, you guys are so calm and collective about it. And I'm like, well, yeah, I am, because knock on wood, if I had some around me, everything's plastic or something. I personally have not really dealt with any demonic case in the whole time I've been doing this paranormal investigating.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that a lot of it is in your head, or something that you capture on your audio recorder. People say, it sounds demonic. Really? You're going to take this, because a digital recorder is filters, and it's trying to speak to you. And if the spirit is trying to speak to you, it's taking every bit of energy that it can to go through those filters. So I'm not saying that's demonic. So if the farthest I would go that I've investigated so far, now I'm not saying there's not demonic cases, but I personally have not dealt with anything that dark, mm-hmm. is that I feel like there's a lot of bullies out there in the spirit world, just like they are in the real world.
Right.
And sometimes, too, you got to take that in perspective. Or, I try to tell people, hey, you're telling me what you're feeling and seeing. You're seeing an old man. How do you not know that could have been someone's grandpa? My grandpa, he was a sturdy, grumpy old man. And, sometimes he came across as, oh, you don't want to talk to him, but he's actually a big teddy bear at heart. So I try to change people's attitudes about all that. Excuse me. That everything is not demonic. Let's start back. Let's go back, and let's figure this out. We'll get there. And, that's what blows people's mind away, is when we say this and, we're more calm and collective about it. Mm-hmm. And they're like, you should be scared. You're in the room where so-and-so has been seen and where I've been pushed off the bed. Well, I'm taking that in perspective, but I got to get to know this person to help them, just like you. I tell people, excuse me, that I picture myself on a fence, and I'm teetering to the spirit world, and I'm teetering to the human life. Okay, and I'm here to help both sides, not just because you called me in, but the spirit side too. Because if I can't help them, then I'm not going to be able to help you, because they're not going to understand. So I need to get to the bottom first to build my way to the top. And that's how we all see that here on our team is, let's help both sides. Let's get the answers if they give them, and then we can help each other.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we get a little too, we all joke around a little bit like, man, we're getting too friendly with the spirit. We got to make sure he stays here, or we get him crossed over. And I'm like, yeah, that's true, because they like our energy. So, of course, but it's really stepping back and, it's like a fish story, when, let's say me and you, Tim, went fishing, and I wanted to come back and tell Patty that, man, we were on this boat, and Tim was fishing on the front of the boat, and I don't know what he had on his line, but it actually made the front of the boat go into the water. And, and the story builds up from there once we tell the next person. And then they're like, man, did you hear? Lee and Tim went fishing, and there was a shark that just reached up and grabbed the front of the boat and pulled it in the water. And then by the time it's to us and we're trying to tell the story, no, it was just that there was a lot of weight, and it was a tire on the other side of the hook, and I'm pulling in a big old spare tire, and that's how paranormal is. The stories grow and grow and grow, and it's like any story, it just grows and grows and grows. And I'm like, okay, I want to hear the stories, but I want to go back. I want to go farther back, as far as I can go. And that's where I want to start.
Mm-hmm.
And because, I feel like, as we're on that subject, we have a good friend up in Northern Ohio, Jerome Howe. He's a shaman. We had him on the show when we were actually on Z-Talk. And he came up with a really good strategy that he feels like in 2015 something amazing is going to happen. And it's not going to be amazing good. It's going to be amazing bad. We all go into these locations and we investigate these locations, and a lot of people hear these stories and they hear that it's a bad person. And they go in and they want to close the door and they want to scream and they want to go like, you're going to talk to me tonight, you MFer, and all this. And it's like, no, that's not really what you want. And he feels that where these places, their doors are open 24/7 every day of the week and through the year, that somebody, just a regular individual, is going to get hurt because it's been built up, that the spirit is hiding in this dark corner. And then the next person that comes in, that spirit's going to lash onto them like a beast. And I see this really happening.
Mm-hmm.
Can only push, it's just like us. We're all spirit inside. We can only push someone to the extreme so far. Some people have a short fuse. Some people have a real long fuse that they're used to getting bullied and all that. But sometime it's going to snap and that person's going to blow up. And I totally believe if we don't change our ways in investigating these places where we hear these stories, something's going to happen. And we're not going to like it. It's just interesting to hear other people's, inputs on things. And it's just like, wow, that's why we do radio, right? It's just like we love to hear everybody's stories. Because I take in all that perspective, from not just paranormal, but crypt. We do UFO, all of that, sometimes, we used to have Stan Romanek on Z-Talk a few times. And, hearing those real deep stories sometimes, as having him on our show and having him call through my phone line, I'm like, dude, MIB could be knocking on my door any minute now. Or there's something hovering above my house and getting ready to be disappeared. And we always joked with him. And, even like Carl Johnson, having him on the show because he thought Patty was a sweetie, which he's a super nice guy. And we had him on the show, and he was sharing one of his investigations about this little boy. And we all were sitting there looking at each other, and every hair on our body was standing straight up. And as he was talking to us, we're capturing audio EVPs through our microphones. And I went back after the show before I archived it. I can get it out. And I could hear these voices. So I called him up and I said, Carl, you got to hear this stuff, man. This was on after you just got off the show. And he just said, I'm used to that. And he's really calm and collected, used to that, Lee. And I'm like, oh, I'm not used to that. I was like, we need to clinch you, buddy. It was terrifying. It was really weird. It was just like, but you was really wanting to hear more about this story. But you know what? We only get so much time on the show. So it's just like, oh, man, really wanted to hear more about this. And he goes, well, have me on again. But it's been so hard to try to get him on anymore. He's got a lot going on. Of course, when you fall in love, that takes a lot of your time.
Yeah,
and he did. So, but yeah, it's my opinion on that is too, it's been there. Patty can share a little bit on her side of that as well. Okay. About, black magic, demonic. We never did get to meet the mother, But when we were there that night and doing the investigation, as Patty and Patrick was setting up cameras, Jim thought, it'd be really good because he likes to do all the camera stuff. And he goes, Lee, let's go in and interview them as they're here while the rest of the team is setting up. So we go in, and she's sharing that she grew up in this black magic. And it wasn't a life. She didn't have a really good friendship with her mother, period. And I'm thinking at the beginning of the investigation, I'm thinking, oh my God. I looked at Jim and I'm thinking, he knew exactly what I was thinking. This may be our chance. We may be doing something dark. Didn't tell the other two. They were upstairs just having a good time setting up the cameras. And I'm thinking, good Lord, she's talking about that room upstairs. But, we had to take it in perspective. We had to video it because we wanted to hear the story. So there's something in that story that can click, that can get us going to start our story for them. And, it was interesting to hear, and hearing about the dark magic, hearing what she went through as a teenager with her mother. Whoa, it was crazy.
Yeah, right.
But I'm going to let Patty share her side of this.
Mm-hmm. What's your feelings on it, Patty?
Well, in regards to this particular case, I defer to Lee because, like he just said, I wasn't present when Taylor was discussing all of that information with him.
Mm-hmm.
Had I never even heard it, it never would have crossed my mind because nothing that we were picking up during that investigation was demonic. I didn't feel like anything was black magic related at all. On the other hand, I don't discount what Taylor said at all.
Mm-hmm.
I feel for her having had to live through that, especially as a child. And as a parent, I can't imagine what it sounded like to me was I can't imagine choosing that life over my child.
Right.
I tried to look some things up in the past about black magic, and it's amazing the things that come up. And now I'm probably being watched on my computer, but it's just, I don't know, all sorts of supposed spells and incantations and, I don't know. I always say just once I would like to encounter a very serious, scary case, but on the same token, I don't wish that upon anyone.
All right.
I want to have to be the person who goes in and rescues somebody from that. But just for me to know, and I do believe it exists, but it would help me if I saw it. And, maybe one day I will. And I know you need to be careful what you wish for. And
I was going to say.
Yeah. I know.
Absolutely.
I'm really not wishing for it, but, I guess it's just that all the times we get these calls like, there's demons flying around every corner of my house. And we're like, hey, this could be a decent case. And then,
or mental illness.
We learn from every single case we do. And one of the things we learned, well, two. One is to ask our clients, hey, what's your favorite ghost hunting show?
Yeah.
Because we know they have one.
Mm-hmm.
The second one, and some people think this is a little touchy, but we ask about any medications anyone in the home is on. Prescription meds cause all sorts of side effects, and you may or may not be aware of them. And we're not medical doctors. We don't even play them on TV, but just to kind of bring that realization, wow, I didn't know that hallucinations was a side effect of this pill. It's like, geez, aren't you investigating what you're putting in your body?
Absolutely. That's the crazy part.
Those are things that we ask. And, we do preface that with, you don't have to answer this if you don't want to. Mm-hmm. But chances are we're going to see it when we're walking around your house anyway.
Absolutely. You called us in. We're going to check your place out. We're going to see what's going on. You know, that's, you know, we want to be safe because sometimes now I like to do preliminaries because I want to meet them, you know, midday. I want to meet the family. Because, you know, sometimes doing these investigations, they reach out and say, well, I need your help. And then, of course, we're all pumped up because we're paranormal investigators. But we go there in the dark and we're setting up. And then when the light's out, we've just met these people.
Right.
You know, talk to somebody on an email, that's it. But, man, you know, what's your husband doing, ma'am? I hear a grinder in there. Oh, he's sharpening knives. We're going to kill you. You know, you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, it's like get to know these people first because I want them to know who we are because we can bring in these big, you know, these equipment bags and these cases and they're thinking, oh, you know, there's equipment in there, but we could be bringing it, you know, we could be bad too, just like they could. So it's just like, do your research, investigate them people too, you know, and like Patty said, you know, it's always important to do all that because you never know what you're going to deal with out there. There's all kinds of crazies out in the world, you know, just like that guy they did down in, was it Florida, Georgia, where he was calling these paranormal teams to come in and investigate these locations. And the address he would give you was an old abandoned farmhouse out there. And you would show up and he would start shooting at you.
Yeah.
I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, my friends at Steel Tom Paranormal, they got the phone call to go down there, and they experienced that. That was very frightening for them. I'm like, there's no way. That's why you got to research these people. Mm-hmm. I'm like, yeah, so I couldn't imagine getting shot at as I showed up.
No. What's your take on the whole black magic thing, Tim?
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that, you know, there is a such thing as black magic. I do believe in black magic, but I also believe in and know about the Wiccan belief. And I have a friend that's a Wiccan, and some of the things that were in the episode I thought maybe were related to the Wiccan faith or the Wiccan religion. I could be wrong, but what I know of it's a very earthy, very peaceful belief and practice.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
what we hear as well.
That's what I hear as well, is it's very, you know, it's not about God, it's about say God is earth.
Right.
You know, the earth produces the trees, it brings us air, it's everything. And you know, and I see that. That's great, you know. I'm not going to knock somebody's belief, their religion belief in that. But then there's, you know, then you've got these people doing this dark stuff with it, and I didn't know there was so many sides of pagan, Wiccan, and it's just like, wow. And you see it all the time on the, you know, these shows. They'll put the pentagram down on the ground and candles, and I'm thinking, okay, well, you know, some people believe that the pentagram is a, you know, good thing, and some people believe it as a dark thing, and it's just like people believe in the paranormal. You know, some people believe that it's good. Some people believe that we're crazy. Some people believe that we worship the devil.
I still get that.
Yes, I still do too. Some people, like in the family, they'll be like, "Are you crazy?
You don't believe in God?"
Church? I go to church all the time.
Right.
What's your pastor think? I was like, I'm helping people.
I told my sister a little bit more about the show today and the guests that I have, and she's like, "I thought you didn't believe in God." I'm like, "Tammy, why do I, you know, I make rosaries, I wear crucifixes, I wear, you know, St. Michael medals around my neck, you know, and you're saying I don't believe in God? Come on."
That's a sister for you right there.
Yeah, exactly.
My sister was totally opposite, you know, and growing up, you know, as teenagers, she would be like, "Oh, let me go walk with you and your friends," or, you know, "Let me go ride bikes with you." No. Go get your own friends, loser. You know, not tell her that. And you know what? And then some days we'd be playing basketball in the garage in the driveway, you know, and I'd go in to get something to drink or change into shorts, you know, and I'd go in the hallway because I've already told her no. She's my younger sister by 4 years. Uh-huh. I told her no, and she's sitting in the hallway, Tim, and she's biting herself or twisting her wrist and crying, building up his cry, and then going and telling my mom that I did this to her. I'm like, "Oh my God, I busted you." And so I went in and told Mom, I was like, Mom, catching her in the act right now. Go check it out. And we both knew, that she's just wanted to hang out with her brother. Now I see it. Now sometimes I wish I can go back and say, yeah, come on, sis, hang out with me. But at the time, it was like, okay, trying to get me in trouble all the time. I see how you are.
I guess I guess that's what sisters do. They make up stories and try to get their brothers in trouble.
Exactly. It's just like, really? And then sometimes too, like my sister would have, grown up, she would also, like, her and her friends loved my clothes. Now, when I was a young kid, I'm not going to lie, I had the cardigan sweaters with the buttons, and we had the turtlenecks and the dickies, and that was the style. And then sometimes I'd be like, pictures, they'd be taking photos, or my pictures would be on her friends for their school photos. And I'm thinking, that shirt looks familiar. And then I'd get someone would knock on the door. It'd be her friend Chrissy. Here's your shirt. I borrowed it for you. Didn't ask me to borrow that, So it's just crazy. But hey, those were the good old days.
Oh yes.
We were just talking. Our daughter, they do Spirit Week, and Thursday was dress up for that. She wanted to be dressed up like the '80s.
Yeah, Thursday was Throwback Thursday.
Yeah, so she, Mom, I want to do an '80s. So, we're giving her all these ideas, and she's looking at us like, are you serious? I was like, just make sure you have your Rubik's Cube in your pocket. She goes, what's the Rubik's Cube? I'm like, those were stuff. And you make sure you have your big stereo hanging over your shoulder,
Yeah.
Pat, what I want your hair is I want to bush it up in the front, and I was like, yeah, make sure you get the bangs with the Aquanet hairspray, and make sure that ponytail's hanging off to the side. She goes, to the side. I was like, Savannah, it's called Punky Days, man. Punky Brewster Days. I said, this was it. Bright colors, fluffy socks. I remember I grew up with two sisters, oldest sister, my youngest sister. I remember coming in there in the mornings, because I'd always I'd let them get showers and ready for school. And then I would go in, we only had one bathroom growing up, and I'd go in that room, man, and I'd be getting ready to get a shower, and I'd hit that floor, and it was sticky, and I'm like, gosh. And I'm like, what is that, Mom? And Mom said, it's your sisters with that Aquanet hairspray. I'm cleaning it up every day, and they didn't get to do it. And she gets on them all the time. I was like, now looking back, that was so flammable. If you walked in there with a match, I would be blown up.
Well, here's the thing. I can remember back then, Aquanet for sure. But the thing was, if you didn't get your hair right the first time, you rewashed it and did it all again.
Because you couldn't get it out.
Yeah. And the thing is, contrary to what you see on The Haunting, I actually have naturally curly hair.
Yeah, she's straight.
And so, yeah, I prefer to wear it straight, but it's a process. Curly hair people get it.
It's a process. I deal with it all the time. Are we ready? Nope. Give me another hour.
Especially back then, you're a teenage girl. You have to look perfect all the time. These bangs have to be up here and
way
all
up.
These curls. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's stressful.
And you look at all the photos, and it's just like, man, every one of us look like we belong on Poison or Motley Crue Bang or something. Those were good old days, yeah?
Yeah, that was the music we listened to back then, so,
yeah,
we wanted to look like them.
But you know what we had, though? We had MTV Music Television, the real MTV Music.
Yes.
We didn't have MTV Jersey Shore or Rob Dyrdek doing, his things. That's all it is anymore. We had music videos. I can remember wait until I loved Saturday nights, late Saturday night videos, because it was like the groups that we liked, but it was videos that you heard the video, you've heard the song on, this is going to scare people. You heard the song on a cassette tape, but you really didn't like it. So you would fast forward through it or rewind it. But you'd see the video and it would crack me up, like some of the videos we had was just amazing. It's just like,
what were some of the funny ones you guys remember? Like some of the one-hit wonders or something.
Sledgehammer.
One-hit wonder, though.
The video's crazy.
So is Land of Confusion.
Yes.
Yeah, that was funny.
Oh, one-hit wonders? Good Lord.
Hold up. Here's a bit of trivia for you. The Pat Benatar Love is a Battlefield video was filmed in my hometown.
Yeah, Clinton,
really?
New Jersey.
Yep.
Wow.
Right. Yep. Actually, her brother's got a house that's actually behind it, like 2 houses down.
Yeah, in the very beginning, you see Pat. I don't know if it's Pat Benatar or if it's another girl. She comes like slamming out of this house.
Mad at Dad.
Yeah, she's all pissed off. That was the mayor's house. And that's right by where my brother lives. We drive Pat every time we go.
Every time we pull in, she goes, Pat Benatar's house.
Like, wow, that's cool.
Yeah, but like one-hit wonders for me, I would think, good Lord, New Kids on the Block. But then they're like coming back. I'm like, they're coming back.
New Kids were not 80s, were they?
Yeah, they were. They were late 80s.
Late 80s, early 90s, yeah.
One-hit wonders like in the 80s. Jeez. Taking it back, aren't we?
I know. I mean.
Think about this too. When MTV started, we had David Lee Roth.
Yeah.
And then it went to Sammy Hagar. And now I think David Lee Roth is trying to come back, is what I heard recently.
Mm-hmm. I did hear that too.
Now he's fighting to want Van Halen. He wants that name back, and he's fighting for it. And I'm like, dude, where have you been? You had a good thing going, and then you walked away from it.
Yeah.
But think about this too. When you like Ozzy Osbourne and Lee. No, I had a big crush on Lita Ford. Big time in high school. Like, good Lord, Lita Ford, man. Or Samantha Fox. Bazinga!
Yeah.
Those were hot chicks.
That's a one-hit wonder.
Samantha Fox was a one, and Tiffany and Debbie.
Yeah.
And then Whitney Houston's husband, Bobby Brown.
Mm-hmm.
Crush on Bobby Brown.
No, I'm thinking one-hit wonders that was just gone. Then you had LL Cool J. Mama Said Knock You Out. That was late 80s, early 90s. And that was on TV. Just think about it. Wait, 80s really rocked.
Oh, it did.
So, 80s really rocked. And then we had the 90s with, then that's when the Tight Road Jeans came in, and
mm-hmm.
Pearl Jam.
Pearl Jam. South.
If I'd have known this, I'd have downloaded some 80s music for us.
We could have rocked it out, dude.
We could do the chicken dance.
Yeah.
And that's such a huge Cincinnati thing. Like, there's a restaurant called Hofbrauhaus, and actually it's over the river in Kentucky, but it's like a duplicate of the Hofbrauhaus over in Germany. They've got great food, loads of great beer, which I don't drink beer, but for those that do,
beer.
And they have like a live house band, and it's just like German polka music. That place is amazing, but they always do the chicken dance, and you are expected to get up and participate.
Yeah, get on your table and your chairs and get up there and do it.
Yeah.
It's really fun. It's really an entertaining place.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, there's one area, it's called the Great Hall, and that's when we go, that's where I like to sit, because you're right in the middle of all the action, and it's like giant, long tables with benches. It's so much fun. I usually go up and tell the band it's like my son's birthday, so they call him out and embarrass him. It's a blast.
And we also had some great movies back in the 80s, man. I mean, I'm sitting here saying, good Lord, I'm thinking Back to the Futures, and I'm thinking Animal House, one of my all-time faves. You got Porky's.
Oh, God, yeah.
That was great,
Back to the
Here's
Future.
the thing.
Yeah, Back to the Future was just on a few days ago. I watched it again.
You know what? You can sit and watch shows over and over and over.
Oh, I know. They don't get boring.
Fantastic show. And you got Breakfast Club. You got 16 Candles. That's taking it back.
Well, and of course we had Poltergeist, which I've been swamped at work this week, and I have not done a whole lot of Facebook business, but I saw today
Somebody's
they're remaking
it.
Poltergeist.
Yeah, they're making it a boy. I saw it. They're going to make Poltergeist the boy.
That I would like to see.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I did see the previews of that today.
There's a trailer. Somebody released a trailer on Facebook, and I'm like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
that would be interesting to see, because I've always thought of that image of the little girl at the TV with the white noise, and one of my sayings is always looking into the unknown. you know, and that's pretty cool. And I used that slogan when we were on Z Talk Radio. It was something cool, you know, looking into the unknown and having that poltergeist as the background. And that was a creepy show, really, you know, think about it. But now kids look at our scary movies, and Savannah was talking about this the other day. Think about it. Our scary movies was Friday the 13th. Who's scared of a dude in a hockey mask?
Right.
I am when he's got a big switchblade knife coming at me.
I have a friend that has a full-life statue of him. It's like, oh, my God. And he has it standing right by his front door. As soon as you open the door, he's like, stares you down the face.
Hello, welcome. What we had was so crazy. We had Friday the 13th. I mean, our shows were really corny when it come to the scenes, you know, but now the stuff's so amazing. But it's like, man, it took so long to get this crazy stuff going, you know. But I loved our shows, you know. I liked even the older ones, you know, and the birds, and you know, I got to meet Rico Browning. A lot of people say, "Who's Rico Browning?" He's the original creature from the Black Lagoon.
Wow, that's cool.
We were at a convention 2 years ago in Cincinnati, the Comic Expo.
Oh.
His booth was directly across from ours, okay? And I got over there, and he took a picture. I've got it right now in the studio, the big picture, Creature from the Black Lagoon. I've got a small one of him coming out of the swimming pool that they used. He autographed it. I love it. It's like you get to meet somebody like that, you know, and we got to meet Jaws before he passed away recently. He was there. And our son was there, and he, you know, he goes, I don't know him. I'm like, yeah, you do. Think of, you know, and I had to go to the movie, Adam Sandler.
Happy Gilmore.
I was like, he was him. Oh, okay. I said, because you wouldn't know who he was if I said 007.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Jaws. I remember him with those teeth, man. He was just so crazy. And you know what? I was watching a show the other day. You remember the $6 Million Man?
Mm-hmm. I do.
He's awesome. You know, he was in that. He was in one of those shows, you know. And but if you guys are interested in going to the Cincinnati Comic Expo, this year they're going to have David Banner, who played Incredible Hulk, and Lou Ferrigno was there last year when we were there, but he's going to come back because David Banner's going to be there, so you're going to see both.
Honey, David Banner is the incredible. He's the guy that turned into the Hulk.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We're going to have both Lou Ferrigno and then the guy that was the Doctor.
I used to love that show, man. That was like I watched that all the time.
So you know what? If Patrick was here, he would tell you different. He was terrified of that show.
Really?
He said, as a kid, he said, I freaked out, but I wanted to watch it, but I freaked out. And I'm like,
he's afraid of the Hulk.
He was afraid of the Hulk. So when we were at the Comic Expo, I said, hey, Patrick, come here. And he saw me, and I was standing there talking to Lou, and he goes, oh, no, I'm good. I'm good. I'm like, dude, he's not even green.
What a sissy.
Yeah, he's a sissy when it comes to that guy. He has no part of that guy. And but, you know, we were sitting one night after a radio show, and we started talking, you know, and I was like, man, let's look up some old stuff on YouTube. And I came up with one of my all-time favorites, The Fog Guy, which was the $6 Million Man.
Yeah. Wow.
And we started singing this song, dude, and we were just cracking up. So we just went on, you know. We went into Michael Knight, Knight Rider.
Oh, yes.
You know, the great shows, Airwolf. Those were really great shows. Simon and Simon, you know. Somebody said to me the other day, wasn't it you that, did you say, or Patrick, Tom Selleck's really 70 years old?
That was me.
Yeah, Tom Selleck, 70 years old, man. Wow. I was like, he was that old in Magnum P.I.?
Magnum P.I., yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy. I love that show.
Yeah.
Then, of course, you couldn't go wrong with MacGyver. You know, I mean, if you had a paperclip and a rubber band, you were set.
No,
remember the A-Team?
What's
the
that?
A-Team?
The A-Team, yes. Mr. T. You can't go wrong with him. You know, I actually got to meet him once a long time ago.
Oh, yeah?
He's short. He's a short guy. Because if you ever notice when he was on Rocky, camera views of him, it was always lower looking up at him to make him look bigger. and there was always a light behind him.
Huh.
Yeah, check it out. Because Rocky IV was the best Rocky ever. The Russian,
yeah, that was my favorite one too.
That was the best one, man. Where he went to Russia and he trained. Man, I'm about to go watch some throwback movies after this.
Hey, why not?
I'm watching Rocky IV.
Hey, did you
Right.
see that post on Facebook where the realtors are trying to sell the Paranormal Activity house?
Yes, I posted that on Facebook page on the ParaVizionz. I said, there you go, people, trying to sell it. You know, and there's so many people interested. I'm like, guys, there's really nothing going on there. I bet you know what? They probably are selling it, as my thinking was they're probably tired of people coming knocking on their door.
Oh, yeah. I bet you.
Yeah, the homeowners are like, enough is enough.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it's just like, you know, didn't they sell Amityville? They sold it recently again.
I think it's back on the market now.
Oh, it's back on the market again?
Yeah, I think so. I think I did see that too.
But they're wanting millions of dollars for that, aren't they?
It's New York, and it's on the water.
Yeah, that's why.
Long Island.
I saw something on Yahoo. If you use Yahoo on your page, on your computer when you start it, for everybody listening, go there. There's this old rustic 1949 car that was in this barn in France, and some guy bought it today for $1.9 million. There's a story why, if you read it. The story is that it was his father's, which was his grandfather's car.
Oh,
So
yeah?
he was willing to pay for a 1949 piece of rust $1.9 million.
Holy crap, man. Must have more money than brains or something.
I'm into cars, and I like watching the Barrett-Jackson auction. I love watching that. But some of those cars, it's like, really? That's just crazy money. I'm like, who has that kind of money just to sitting around and saying, okay, you know what? Because there was a 1970, now you remember this, a 1978 Trans Am. Smokey and the Bandit.
Yeah.
It was white with the blue bird on it. And it was original. It had 19,000 original miles. It had the original tires. Everything was original. Nothing was touched. Okay? The paint looked immaculate. The car went for $3.7 million.
Holy crap, man.
And they interviewed the guy that sold it, right? And he was saying he wanted to put in some of his top-notch cars in there, and he sold those because he wants to, you know, add new things. And he goes, I went into my other barn where I have some original cars and pulled that out thinking I'm going to get about $50,000 out of it. And he got $3.6 million. I would have had a heart attack. If I owned that car and it had that kind of miles and then I got $3.6 million. Jeez.
All because of a TV show. Wow.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's just phenomenal. I mean, it's all it takes is just being on TV, you know, and then they want that car, they want something. It's just like, wow.
I guess if you got the money, you know, and you really like your TV show, why not, right? I mean,
absolutely. But, you know, I liked King Kong, but I can't put King Kong in my house. I love that show. Even the remake, you know, I just loved King Kong. I just like it. It's just great. That's just the old stuff, you know. Just think about it, the black and white stuff to today. You know, every year, New Year's, me and Patty, we sit and watch the Twilight Zone, the marathon of the Twilight Zone on Sci-Fi. It's the best.
I love it.
Yeah, the ones, and the best one of me is the Masks,
Oh, yeah.
where they the guy he knew he was going to die, and the family came in and they were all ready for him to die because they wanted his money, so he made them wear these masks. And they were all ugly faces, and their faces turned into that. That was his last wish before he died.
Well, it's like it showed their true color.
Yeah, their true color. And every one of them was sad.
Like at the stroke of midnight, they're like, all right, he's dead. Let's take these masks off. And joke's on you, losers.
Yeah, that's a good one. Definitely check that out. Definitely check that out.
wow, these last 2 hours, guys, it really went quick.
Yeah, it did. We got off the field a little bit, but it was exciting, to share. We've got some people going, thinking, but it's always fun.
Yeah, definitely.
Always. Yep. We had a blast.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll have to do this again sometime. Just chit chat, just have a bullshit
absolutely.
session.
We'll have to get you on our show.
I would love that. That'd be great.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll have to. Okay. Well, you know what? I don't have anybody scheduled for next Thursday. How about next Thursday?
Sure. I'd love to come on.
Coming up, we'll have you on. We start from 7 to 8 Eastern time, just like, because we're in the same zone.
Okay.
And our guest calls in at 7:15. We talk till about 7:55. And, I'll get with you on Facebook, though, on that.
Okay. Do you want me to Skype in or?
You can. You can Skype in.
Okay.
Yep. Absolutely.
Okay, that'd be great. Do you guys have your guests come on a couple minutes before you go live or anything like that?
No, we just have you call in during the show.
Okay.
Yeah. Because we go over some news, some topics, and all that. Then we have our guests call in right around 7:15.
Mm-hmm. Hey, how about that reporter in Chicago did that story about the little boy that had a past life experience? We were talking about
didn't
that
share that?
What's that?
I think Patrick shared something about that too. You were talking about the past life. I didn't know much about it. I think Patrick mentioned something to me about that.
Mm-hmm. I guess they did a lot of research and validated a lot of the things that he was seeing and experiencing.
Yeah, that's
and how
amazing.
old was he?
He's like 5 or 6, I think.
Wow, and everything that you said they documented was true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did. I guess the family did some research. Ohio family convinced son lived another life as a Chicago woman.
Whoa.
Wow. That's really cool when they can go back and document and, it's like...
Well, it's like our friends, Deb and Nick Lance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know them.
Nick, with his past life of being a Civil War soldier and his birthmark and all that. I mean, that's just, for a kid to know this stuff, it's just like, whoa, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm. I interviewed Sandra on my show last was March. She's the producer of that show. That was pretty awesome.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, that is cool. That's a good. Is that show coming back or what's going on?
I'm not sure. I haven't really heard anything. I know when I was talking to her, she was just getting ready to go into her second season of the show.
Nice. I thought it was a really interesting, just hear these stories of these kids. Yeah. It was like Psychic Kids with Chip Coffey and Chris Fleming. I thought that was really neat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that show.
Mm-hmm. That was really good. Really good.
Yeah, her name is Sandra Alvarez. Sandra Doc. She's the producer of the show. If you're interested in having her on your show sometime.
That would be cool. If you can shoot me some information on Facebook, that'd be cool.
Okay. Yeah, definitely do that.
Because I'll get your information and get it to Jim, because he makes all of our banners and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to next week with talking to you guys on your show.
You'll have a blast with us and talking to the boys. So we'll have everybody chime in. We'll tag you in everything and get it out there. We put it on our website as well, our banner, and for the show. And last night we had a good time with Richard. And the show gets overwhelmed. The chat room does because, of course, we got Reverend Tim Shaw after us. And so he comes in. He's always in there. One of our big followers, and I'll admit he is a follower of ours, is Bruce Tango. He's in our show all the time. Good friend of ours. Really like the guy. And you'll have fun. We'll definitely have a blast.
Awesome. How can somebody get a hold of you? Do you have Facebook, website, ParaVizionz?
We got website. Yeah, ParaVizionz, ParaVizionz. It's Z's instead of S's.com. There's an email link right there. Or you can find us on Facebook at ParaVizionz Paranormal. and we're right there.
Oh, and we were talking about before we went live on the air that you're going to be working on, you guys, you and Patty and the rest of the team are going to be possibly on some TV shows upcoming as well.
A couple more episodes of A Haunting coming up, and we're looking forward to those, starting those soon. One dealing with Native Americans and the shaman, and then the other one is dealing with the military soldiers in the Civil War time. So we're looking forward to those.
Awesome. And you guys have Facebook as well, right?
Yeah, we do.
Yep, just ParaVizionz Paranormal on Facebook. Search it up.
Awesome. It was awesome talking to you guys the last 2.5 hours. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, me too. I had a blast.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us on, Ted. And I'll get with you soon and this weekend to get everything for the show.
Okay, great. I will upload the archive of tonight's show on the ParaX Radio website as well. So if you want to, your friends want to listen to the show or download it, and I'll also have it up on the YouTube page as well. So.
Okay. Cool.
All right. It was an awesome time talking to you guys.
Yeah,
it was great. We had a good time. So. All right, I'm going to go ahead and end the show. You have been listening to the Supernatural Realm with my guests and now new friends, Lee and Patty Allen from ParaVizionz. It was a great time talking to you guys. I'm looking forward to next week.
Absolutely, but we'll get with you soon. Take care.
All right, thank you. Thank you for coming on the show, you two.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well, that was Lee and Patty Allen, my good friends at ParaVizionz Paranormal. We're going to go ahead and end the show here, and I think I'm going to end the show with a song, Jesus Reigns, because I think it's fitting with what we talked about tonight. And I also think it's fitting with the show here, Supernatural Realm as well. So I'm going to go ahead and play that, and next up, Alan Warren's going to be on. He's going to be, his show is called The War and Exchange at 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Z Talk Radio Network. So be sure to tune in for that. Al's a great guy. He has a good show. He has a number of different guests on his show, and it's very interesting, very informative, just like all the other shows right here on the Z Talk Radio Network. I'm going to go ahead and end the show here and say goodnight, and I want to thank Patty and Lee for coming on the show, Alan Warren for spending time here listening to the show and on chat with us as well. So I'm going to go ahead and end the show here. You'll be listening to the Supernatural Realm on the Z Talk Radio Network. Next week I have a, see here, I think I have a demonologist on here next week. I'm going to have to look here at the schedule just to see and make sure what the schedule is for next week, because I go for a couple months and schedule everybody in. So I'm just gonna look at my calendar here real quick, and I'll let you guys know who's coming on next week. Real quick here. New England demonologist Keith Johnson will be joining me on a show next week, so I'm looking forward to talking with him and talking about demonology and what it all entails. Right here, next week on the Z Talk Radio Network. Good night, everybody. Be sure to join me next week. Next Thursday, I will be the guest on ParaVizionz radio show with the ParaVizionz Paranormal on ParaX Radio Network. And join me next Friday right here on the Z-Talk Radio Network as I have demonologist right here next week at 6 p.m. Eastern on the Z-Talk Radio Network. That's demonologist Keith Johnson will be joining me next Friday. Good night, everybody.